Hey guys, welcome back to Modeler Mentor. Today we are going back to the Bandai Slave 1 model and we are diving into painting and chipping. So our first step is to mask off the windshield and place that, as that will protect our freshly painted cockpit. And then we're going to pull out the black Vallejo primer and get to priming. Alright, now we've got a nice solid coat of black on. The black is to make sure that the recessed areas are pure black. Those are the shadow areas, and when we paint with our colors, those areas are more likely to remain black, which is going to give us a nice accent. Now we're coming back over this with gray primer, and we're doing a zenithal highlight here. So we're basically going to highlight all of the areas that get direct light, and that is going to help accent. It'll help show us where certain colors should go, and even though we're going to cover this over with a pretty even coat of regular paint, I always like doing this black and gray beginning primer. Alright, our primer coat is on, and now it's time to start painting our very first base color layer. Now, if you're interested in seeing what these colors really look like, there is a complete Google Drive folder full of all of my reference and research material for the Slave 1, where I found studio scale references, magazine and book references. All of that is available on Patreon. If you pay the $5 subscription, you get access to every single project's research materials. This particular color is a mixture of khaki and white to make a very nice light tan color, and basically we're going to make a very smooth and even coat on the surface of the model. Now for the fun part, the chipping fluids. So these are AK Interactive chipping fluids. Heavy chipping fluids for removing a lot and worn effects for removing a little bit. These are applied with a brush or an airbrush, and once it dries, you can then apply your color. And then once the color dries, you can use any material, a brush, toothpick, anything with just a little bit of water, slightly damp, and it will remove that paint layer, and you can do all kinds of cool effects. So I've already sprayed the model with the chipping fluid and let that dry, and now we're going over it with a pale olive color for our base green. Now it's time to do our dark accent colors. This is an evergreen color that has been desaturated and darkened a bit with just a hint of blue added, and this makes a fine accent. Now we have applied more chipping fluid, and we're starting the very first redder layer for the bottom of the hull, and this is going to be a pretty pink color, and I wouldn't call this salmon. This is a very desaturated, lightened red color. We're going to do a nice base coat for that, and then chip it. Now comes the hardest part of this model build, and this actually took a couple of tries to make work. So what you have to do after you do your first chipping layer is seal that chipping layer so that now when we do the second chipping layer of the actual primary hull color, it's not going to peel off any of the pink. And I used a gloss coat, but I did not coat it thick enough. And what's going to end up happening, as you'll notice, is once we get this entire thing nice and clean and everything's ready to chip, once we start chipping, the red pigment turns really muddy really quickly, and it just happened to stain a little bit of our tan color. And this is the one thing that I'm not super pleased about with this model, but things happen and it still turned out to look really, really good in the end, so I'm very glad about that. But just note to self, if you guys are following along, make sure that you have a very nice gloss coat on the red surface. Also, pay attention to doing just a nice even coat. Don't make it super thick like I'm doing right now. That's also another error, is I'm putting way too much pigment on. And then go much slower and with a much smaller brush or even a toothpick to remove the chipping, and that will dramatically help keep the red from staining. Now we're going to go back in all of the areas that we need to still paint with a darker brown color. We're going to first go back and paint them with the tan color. And the reason why we're doing that is because we still need to chip, and if we don't fix all of the different overpaints and stuff, once you chip through that darker brown color, you're going to see some of these interesting, weird variations in color. So first step is tan, then the brown, then we're going to chip that again.
Good.
Now it's time to finish painting all of the rest of the little tiny parts. So we're going to add our yellow accents, we're going to look for any areas that need adjusting, and then we're going to go to the back and paint all of the rest of the base colors, and at this point, all of the base painting will be done. As we wrap up this video, I just want to say thanks so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to help support the show. Look for Chapter 5, where we do a complete oil weathering to finish this beautiful Star Wars model. If you're interested in winning free model giveaways and other awesome rewards, as well as exclusive, never released to the public modeling tutorials, visit Modeler Mentor on Patreon, where you can help keep this show running and earn awesome rewards in the process. Thanks, and see you next time on Modeler Mentor.